We've heard all about red flags, but Reddit, what are some green flags on a first date? Something goes wrong not their way and they respond like a reasonable person and just keep it moving. For example, if you don't want a lift back home or their order is wrong. Her. Gets her food and starts eating. Me. Is that spicy? Her. Mouth full. Hot sauce on chin. Maybe if you're a bitch. She seems genuinely curious about you. Asks about your life and your past, etc. Talking for 5 hours but only thinking the date lasted around 90 minutes. Having a funny discussion. The one kind where you defend blue and she defends red. And in the meantime both are walking through a park, a mall, or just being somewhere. And when both agree going somewhere just for the experience. I really like people trying new stuff and not complaining for so even though they liked it or not. When you get to the point that you run out of ideas on stuff to do but you both want to keep the date going so you end up just aimlessly wandering around. Genuine laughter. I have anxiety and a lot of involuntary quirks. Sometimes my defense mechanism for that is to break out my dry sense of humor. I can usually tell if someone is laughing because she's trying to be polite or laughing because she genuinely finds me funny. I was anxious and needed to pee when I picked her up. I asked if I could use her bathroom before we left. And she said of course. She apologized if it was messy, as she shared a house with several other people, including a couple of guys. So I went in to pee and found a Lego pirate ship on the back of the toilet. After I was done, I asked her if it was a roommate's and she said, proudly, "Mind you. No. It's mine. We'll be celebrating 26 years of marriage this month." Cheek sore from laughing. Which cheek's nut? If either person does something ridiculously embarrassing and the other person laughs. I guess there are situations where someone is literally laughing at you. But usually if you laugh, fart or spit food trying to talk and someone laughs at you, it's because they like you. Not making fun of you. If they laugh and walk out. Yeah. That's a different situation. But if you're having a good time and do something embarrassing and the other person laughs, that's a good sign you're on the same page. On one of our first dates, he went to take a drink of his soda. And the straw went up a nostril and stuck there. He tried to take it out suavely. But I already was laughing my ass off. He still remembers it with great embarrassment. And I still laugh this. We just had our 25th wedding anniversary. When you don't want it to end. My first date with my current girlfriend started as a casual meetup for a coffee, but we ended up spending the whole day together because neither of us wanted it to end. On a side note, splitting the bill, or at least offering. I had a first date on a cold evening in Portsmouth, New Hampshire. Early winter. Not a lot of snow on the ground. Date was in a cozy stone basement bar with fireplaces. We sipped Irish coffees and got to know each other. By the time we left, a snowstorm had blown in. Accumulation got heavy. A local state of emergency was called. Street parking was banned so plows could clear the roads. And her car got towed. So we extended the date to walk through the nearly silent snowscape. And held hands as we strolled the railroad tracks in the falling snow to the impound lot to collect her car. That was 25 years ago as of last January, and this weekend we're taking our kids to do college visits. Semicolon. Edit. And now I've lost my gilding virginity. Thanks. We came to the end of our coffee date. I decided after an hour to give her an escape ladder. Because it seemed to me that she wasn't really into it. Oh. Well. Thanks so much. I said. This was fun. She looked at her watch and said, "What are you doing right now? Wanna go to another place and get lunch?" First date lasted 4 hours. Including walk in the rain and memorable goodbye smooch. Our son is in first grade and we now spend a lot of our extra income on Legos and life is good. On our first date in high school, my wife tried to pay for the movie tickets and then the snacks at the movie. After the movie she gave me a big hug and we held hands while walking around the mall. We had our first kiss later that evening. I think the green flags were how sweet and caring she is. That was 10 years ago, but I will never forget how it made me feel. While meeting up with a girl I met on Tinder at a coffee house, a little bit of spittle flew out of my mouth and hit her on the forehead while I was talking. I noticed. She noticed. I noticed she pretended not to notice. Clearly she is the kind of person who doesn't sweat the small stuff. The rest of the date went smoothly. We've been married for 5 years now. For me, it was the retry worthy ups. My first date with my now wife, we had dinner and the host happened to know me from college. It was his first day and he kept coming up to us to chat. He was seriously annoying. That made my date and I agreed to try again. Second date. Movie which had technical difficulties. We got a free movie pass out of the deal. Third date. Paintballing. She got shot in the eye by some punk teenager while she was fixing her mask. We bonded in the hospital over the situation. Fourth date. Comedy show. The lady next to us was the worst heckler I have ever seen. Super disruptive. That lady and her friends were kicked out and the rest of the acts were men. It goes on and on. Every time we try to do something romantic, something happens that ruins the mood. We laugh it off and memories are made. That was 10 years ago and we still talk about it. It reminds me of the movie Hitch starring Will Smith. A friend of mine hit it off in the car with her date that they ended up driving over 2 hours past their date destination. When conversation is that good, you've got a blaring green light. They're married for around 15 years now. When they actually pay attention to what you're talking about and even make the effort to come back to the topic if interrupted. The first time my now husband ever touched me, it felt like I knew him 1,000 years already. I don't like being touched. And the instant comfort I got. I knew I wasn't just going after booty on this one. I was driving her home and a good song came on the radio and we listened to the whole thing without talking or interrupting. Most natural feeling in the world. When you find you're comfortable enough with someone to open up about those parts of yourself that you'd normally be a little afraid to reveal, the insecurities, desires, dreams you hold inside yourself, and that you're afraid of being mocked or criticized for. And then they react in a safe, supportive manner. Met a guy at a bar. He had a cake tin in a bag next to him. 2 weeks later he baked me a cake for my birthday. And we've been together now 19 years. Only downside is he never baked me another cake. Ugh, men are such teasers. Luring you in while you're dating with a nice big cake, but after the wedding it's once a year at best and maybe not at all. Get it together, guys. According to my fiance registered signee, it was when I first went to her house and get cat sat in my lap. Her cat hates everyone but loved me. I'm a colorblind hopeless romantic. They're all brown flags. When you find out a hidden common interest that y'all never talked about and things get more intimate and close. Edit. First date with girlfriend. After dino we hit the pub. First thing she does when we enter is pick up a few coasters. Turns out she collects coasters. I collect beer labels. I had to hold the smile on my face. I dated a woman who said one of the things she liked was that I didn't try anything assault on the first date. Well, it wasn't so much a date as we went out with a few mutual friends and hit it off. We got pretty drunk, so I let her sleep at my place. We shared a bed. But that's it. She was all over me on the second date. Fun times. Being able to sleep with a man and him showing restraint is a major green flag. Especially if there's cuddling involved. It shows he understands consent and respect. It also shows that if the both of you get into a relationship, you know how he is and that he won't jump another woman's bones so quickly. Obligatory. My first gold. Thank you. I'm glad that I got it for something worthwhile. I don't know if I was on an actual date. So I don't know if this counts. We spent an hour and a half talking at a coffee shop. Touched each other's hands and arms repeatedly. And when I was walking her home, I put my right arm through her left. Kept talking. She didn't break stride or react at all. We just walked arm in arm 3 more blocks and across a park to her place. I think that's a pretty good sign that there's a comfort level there. Right? We chatted in person a couple times before and had been emailing back and forth for over 3 months before she had time to get together. And she wants to get together again so I can meet her friends. Not sure when though. I did tell her that I liked her. In a reversion to middle school communication patterns. And she said that she thinks she's going to end up a Buddhist nun. Which kind of skews things a bit. Help? Go again. Seriously. Ask her out on another date. Then ask her to clarify the Buddhist nun thing. Never gonna know unless you ask. When she asked me before kissing me and asked me if it was okay if she asked me to come back home with her. Feels good. As a man. Well. It'd be cool if he actually brought a green flag. If they brought a green flag, that is probably a red flag. Being able to communicate feelings without placing blame is another huge one. If your soul can handle conflict by staying calm. And communicating their needs without placing blame. Then you've got to keep her. Also. When they verbally say I really like you. And I'd love to go on a second date. I never ever had to wonder if my boyfriend and I were something more. He always made and still does say out loud how he feels about me. Not ushy gushy but just genuine affection. It was always clear where we stood with each other. Words of affirmation is huge for me. So it was a green flag for me. She took the time and effort to get to know me. And she replied with some of her interests too. It was great to see her face and listen to her be passionate about her hobbies and raising her son. I could tell she was creative and she took good care of her kid. Went for a couple drinks and split an appetizer. We started talking about maybe checking out a bar down the street. Excused myself to go to the bathroom. I'm gone, may I 5 minutes. Get back to the table and she's paid the bill. I was shocked. As I had fully intended to pay and had never been on a first date where the girl had grabbed the check, probably because I wouldn't let them if they tried. 5 years later. Think I just settled on a ring the other day. Wish me luck. She is dating me. Is a green flag. If he or she is flirting and touching you, not sexually, but just not being shy. If you're uncomfortable and they back off, then that's also a green flag. If it's a creative date. For example, me and my girlfriend went on a date on Halloween. We just went around town to see who we recognized and had an overall great time. Our first date was Guardians of the Galaxy. I was running a little behind schedule. So she took it upon herself to pay for snacks. We worked together and she's apparently liked me for ages. I was clueless. So she already knew my favorite snacks. They were out of the candy I wanted. So she walked to the candy shop nearby and bought 3 boxes of it. Our second date was TMNT a week later. If you saw the first showing, they give you a mask headband representing one of the turtles. I didn't get the one I wanted. But I'm not about to complain and ruin a second date. She knew that. Excused herself to the restroom. And came back with that sweet Raph mask that she knew I wanted. She said she'd heard me mention it days before. And decided to trade with someone. Those may seem like dumb little things that don't hold any weight to you. But I'm never letting go of her. When she cracks a stupid joke that you think is super funny but would not have told on a first date. Nothing sexier than a girl who's comfortable with herself and doesn't stick to good girl attitude just to fit in. When they are kind to animals and people in the service industry, especially if they don't know you're watching them. When you show her your Bionicles collection and she's not impressed because she has the same sets as you. On my first date with the man who is now my fiance. We walked from our high school to a local restaurant and he insisted on walking on the side of the sidewalk that was closest to the road. In that moment he reminded me of my grandfather, who had recently passed. Because when I was a small child my grandfather told me a gentleman always walks closer to traffic than the lady. It just gave me a really good feeling about him. That he was polite and a little bit old-fashioned. When they go the whole date without touching their phone. I genuinely have never experienced any of these on dates. Where are you people finding these wholesome? Good people? Dating is like looking for a parking spot. It often looks like all the good ones are taken. Especially around the holidays. But you only need to be successful once. My honey and I met online, and after about 2 weeks of text, chat and call exchanges we met in a public place. I will never forget the look he had on his face when he turned around to look for me when I was entering the doors. It was a bright-eyed, genuinely happy look. The date was a hit, and when we were leaving, he walked me to his car and bid his adieu. I thought it was strange that he chose not to walk me to my car and asked him about it a little later. He told me that he didn't want to freak me out or make me feel pressured in any way. So yeah. Celebrating our 1-year anniversary on Friday, and the kindness and compassion have only intensified. I went to the movies on a date with a girl. She skipped rom-coms and picked an action movie. When we were almost to the theater, she said, "Pull over. We need to get candy before we go. I'm not paying $6 for cookie dough bites. We've been together 9 years. Married 5. Someone who takes responsibility for planning fun activities and puts in the effort to ask meaningful questions. All small talk at a bar is the worst. On our second date, my now boyfriend had no issue with me paying. I had invited him out this time. I wanted to take him on a date, which made me confident that he isn't someone with an ego related to masculine stereotypes. Man always has to pay etc. Made me feel like an equal partner right away. He also never played games, and would text me shortly after the date was over to continue our conversation or tell me he had a good time. Our 3-year anniversary is in December. He's a good one. Kindness. Watch how they treat everyone they interact with. Cab driver, waiter, bartender, passers-by. I've found that if someone treats people with decency and respect, they're usually a pretty solid person. But pay attention. It's easy to treat the waiter well, because they realize they're being watched and evaluated. But watch the little interactions as well. Those can be more telling. When she plays Bionicles instead of undressing and touching your pee-pee. On my first date with my boyfriend, we went out to breakfast. I always order bacon with my waffles and totally forgot because I was nervous. I was low-key sad about it and told him I forgot and laughed it off. When our food came, he split his bacon with me. Really made me like him, since he had just told me bacon is his favorite. And he let me pay since he drove, which is a huge plus for me. The biggest green flag is that you find something to talk about quickly and are actually engaged in the conversation. If you're having dinner and make it all the way to the enter registered signee and are still so. Any siblings? Then the date is pretty much dead. Not egotistical, arrogant. Listens to you talking. Is polite to waitstaff. Doesn't badmouth exes. He orders pineapple juice. Edit. This was just a joke answer I put. Plot twist. The entire week he's been eating nothing but old leftover lasagna, bacon cheeseburgers, and disgusting microwave meals. He got down on the floor to play with my dog pretty much right after saying hi. My dog flipped over for belly rubs and I knew right then I was going to marry this man. When they show up on a bicycle and are a bombshell, and it's midsummer in Finland and you stay out till 3 in the morning, and it's only just twilight and you don't go home together, even though you both obviously want to, because you literally just met and the tension will be more enjoyable if you let it sit for one more day. And then you spend a few days together and she's like a magical polar bear Arctic forest creature. And then you have a few months go by of visiting and being separated and visiting again because you live in different countries. And then you decide to get married and she never leaves again and you're expecting a baby in a week. 4.5 years later. Semicolon. Yeah. That's usually a good sign. When you say hello there and they respond with General Kenobi. On our first date with my current BF of 2+ years. We were getting along well, but the way we really connected was when we started talking about stupid memes. His eyes lit up when he realized that his stupid sense of humor is just like mine. My so of 8 years says he knew he first realized he liked me when we were escorting my drunk housemate home from a nightclub at 2 AM. We were animatedly talking about comic book heroes as we held her up between us on her stupid high heels. He realized halfway that I wasn't complaining about my feet because I'd chosen to wear skate shoes with my tie dress to the club. Because wearing high heels in a crowded place with stairs when I plan to drink is stupid and I'm not a T-Rex, sir. Witty banter is oh so attractive. This may seem weird, but he told me all of his red flags. This could be taken as a red flag in itself, but I really appreciated it. It helped me to understand the person I was getting into a relationship with. For me, the biggest one is they have hobbies and interests beyond hanging out with friends and watching Netflix. She shows up. I really like this question. Colon. Close bracket. Semicolon. Some people you meet in life. There's something about them. You know they are green. It's rare. But you can get a feeling about people in a good way. If you let your own defensive guard down a bit. There's a lot to be said in observing how someone treats the waiter. How they describe their lives, career, family. You can't always put your finger on it, sometimes there's a warmth about the person. At the end of the day, we are all going on dates and hoping that this person is a good person, and the types of cues we pick up apply to any person we meet in life. Not just a date. I think we should be mindful of this and take a more generalist approach. Wearing matching outfits. On our first date, my boyfriend wore maroon pants and a black button-up. I wore black jeans and a maroon button-up. Seriously though. It's when you just don't want the date to end. We went for dinner. Then drinks. Then ended up taking a walk and being chased by geese. Also, he made me laugh like crazy. 1. Has a passion and is pursuing it. 2. Speaks of their family and friends positively. 3. Has effortless style. 4. Makes eye contact when listening to you. 5. Turns their body towards you and mimics your body language. 6. Shared interests beyond music and sports. 7. Asks interesting questions and seems to have healthy expectations. 8. Touches your arm or hands. 9. Shared sense of humor. 10. Seeing how thankful they are to anyone else providing a service. Whether it be the valet, the waiter or waitress, the help staff. Just seeing how they are grateful and acknowledge their help. I think that really shows how considerate a person is, especially when you can tell it is being directed at them. AMD, they're just not saying thank you because they have to. When they say let's go back to mine to play video games. He got my office references. All of them. Even the obscure ones. We're married now. When they're polite with the waiting staff. Them offering to help pay picking up the tab. Shows they are willing to invest in you. Willing to contribute their earnings to your positive quality of life. And aren't cheap. He turned down SX and said he'd rather wait and get to know me a bit before taking it any farther. Still together 5 years later. Courteous to waiting staff and other people around them. Is polite and wants to split the bill, pay her own way. Girl once looked at me and said, "Why are we still here? Let's go back to your place and get naked." Yes. I married her. First date with current boyfriend was great. I knew I was smitten when our date ran long and we ended up at the park watching the ducks and people walk by. I hadn't checked my phone in well over 2 hours and ended up being extremely late to a friend's birthday dinner because the conversation was so good. I don't regret it. Probably would have spent all evening out if I hadn't had other plans. I stay focused on him because of our genuine connection and engaging interactions. I have social anxiety and some kind of If my attention wanders and you're right in front of me, then this is a problem. Extending a date beyond what was previously established is definitely a green flag. My first date with my now girlfriend started initially as just a quick coffee date at Tim Hortons in the afternoon. We ended up having dinner together that night and spent a bit of time parked after as well. I'm late and this will probably get buried, but a massive waving green flag is when you go on your first date and end up talking somewhere random for 5-6 hours. It's typically a great sign you're either compatible conversationalists, highly interested in one another, or are having a lot of fun being in each other's company.